All right, I am logged into Relativity. I am on the instance level or the home or admin level where I see my list of workspaces. And I want to call your attention to the sidebar on the left side of my screen where I see any parent tabs and any nested tabs that I have access to. Note that it's blue in the background. I want to call your attention to that because once we click into a workspace, which I will do now, you'll see that that sidebar is still there. It's just a little bit different. The color scheme is slightly different. The tabs that I have access to are different because now we are within the workspace, but the functionality is the same. That's where I'll see tabs that have been added to the sidebar and what I have access to. So I want to call your attention to other things we have access to in this workspace. Right here, I've got my views drop down. Now I'm on the documents tab by default. So here I see document views or a list of document views that I have access to. And views are these subsets of documents. So I might have my all documents view and then subsets of that, like only my responsive documents if I wanted to select this one. So those are our document views in this dropdown. If we move over to the right side of the screen where we see document list, this is where I can access dashboards and Relativity. These are those saved page configurations where I can reflect certain charts and graphs related to pieces of metadata or coding fields, kind of overlay that above this document list that we're looking at. So you can select different dashboards here. And then if you want to get back to simply a document list without viewing any dashboards, you can click document list and navigate back to that default. This add widget button, this is where I can create new widgets, and a pivot widget is our term for a chart or graph, like a pie chart or a bar chart that you can add to show you the breakdown on the responsive designation field, for example. So you can click add widget to create new widgets right here on the fly and then save those dashboards if desired. Moving over here to the left once more, this is where I see my different panels over here. And I'll just point out here the browsers panel and the search conditions. Notice you get that four-sided arrow when I hover over each of these. That just means you can move those around. So if I wanted to switch the order of search conditions and browsers, which just happened, or I want to move them to the other side of the screen, I can do that. And note that only changes it for you, doesn't change it for other users, so it's a matter of personal preference if you want to reorganize things. You can also collapse those. So if I'm in the folder that I need to be in and I want to simply collapse that, I can collapse it so that it doesn't take up that space on my screen. Here in the top left section, I've got my browser panel. And this is where I can browse through the document list in different ways. I've got my folder browser. So here's where you will see the root folder named after the workspace itself. And then whatever folder structure you've imported the data with, whether it's a list of custodians or a separate folder for each collection, for example, you'll see those here. You can browse through your documents that way. So just a note, if I switch folders, my list of documents might change because I'm now looking at potentially a subset of those. So we'll go back to our workspace root folder. Next browser option, we've got the field tree. The field tree is where you can see different field options, whether it's a yes, no field or a choice field. You can add those to the field tree browser so that I can quickly see everything that has an image associated with it, or any documents that hit on my search terms, for example. That's the field tree browser. And third one over, again, you'll see a tooltip each time you hover. This is my saved searches browser. And this is where I can see a list of searches that have been saved in this workspace. These are saved queries, not static lists of documents necessarily. And I can quickly access those again and again and see all documents that meet that criteria. So I'll navigate us back to the folders browser to continue our demo. You also might note that the browser that I am on, if I'm on the folder browser, for example, that one is underlined in orange. If I'm looking at this folder and subfolders, I'll see that that icon is in orange as well. So just remember the color orange is kind of the color of activation or what is selected in Relativity. For example, I'm on the Documents tab, and so that tab's icon is highlighted in orange. And then down here in the search conditions section, that's where I can add a condition and search on any document fields that I have access to. So if I wanted to add a condition for a date, for example, or for the privilege designation field, I can add a condition that would filter down the document list that we're looking at currently. Up here at the top, we've got our search bar. This is where I can search for certain key terms and expressions. A lot of great information on searching and relativity learning, and our documentation site if you want to know more about syntax, how to craft a great search to get the results that you want. And then once you're finished with those search results, you can either clear and hit enter, or you can click clear right here. I also want to point out the document preview, which we see right here. If you click this eyeball icon, it says expand document preview panel in the tooltip. That'll open up a preview. And then if you want to see a preview of any of these documents in the document list, you can simply click one. I'll click this third one in the list, and you see a preview right there. And then once you're ready to collapse that, you can hover over this arrow. You see the tooltip says collapse panel, and you can collapse it like so. All right. I also want to point out your column filters. So we are on the Documents tab looking at a list of documents. And if you want to filter down based on any of these fields that we can see in the view, all of these fields that we see across the top of the screen are dictated by the document view that we are on. So this all documents view that we are looking at controls which items we're seeing, which items in the list, and also controls what fields of metadata or coding fields that we see across the top of the screen. You can hide those filters if you don't want to see them readily, or you can open it if you want to be able to add a filter. You also can see how many items per page in the top right of this section. You can see what your default items per page is. You can change that if you like. So I might change mine to see 200 or 500 documents per page. And then now this is updated to show me I'm looking at 1 out of 200 of 12,424. You'll always have the total item count in the bottom right corner of the screen. So just take note of that. If you don't think that you're seeing everything that you should, there are a number of things you can look at. You might have a search condition applied. You might be in the wrong folder on the folder browser, things like that. So just take note of that count in the bottom right corner. Make sure you're seeing everything that you expect to. And you can also navigate, if you're not looking at all items, you can navigate to the next page. Then I would see documents 201 out of 400 and so on. Or you could always go to the very last page in the list as well. And then down here at the bottom, you've got if you wanted to apply a mass operation to a number of documents or all documents, you could select certain ones. So where we see checked 0, let's say I wanted to check all 200 on this page. For example, that updates to only these 200 checked documents that I might want to apply an action to. Or let's deselect that. Maybe I simply want to do something to these first 3 documents. And so now those 3 are selected, and then I can apply any of my mass operations that we see here. Mass operations are actions that you can take against multiple documents at one time. So I can mass edit. If I wanted to change a coding value, I could mass image, for example, mass export to file if I wanted to see an Excel list of a set of documents, and so on. So mass operations, things that I can do to multiple documents at once. And then the last thing I want to point out is this save search shortcut. Let's say you're looking at your document list and you apply a search condition for a date range and a custodian, and you want to be able to quickly come back to those conditions, that saved query. So not necessarily a static list of documents, since those conditions may change, but I want to come back to that saved search query and any documents that meet those conditions at that point. So you would add your search conditions in the panel right here. And then you can click Save Search, give it a unique name, and quickly access it on the Saved Searches browser.